All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 85 of the Dear Herbalist Podcast titled Bioregional Herbalism. If you're new to this podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're a returning listener, thank you so much for your continued support. Now, you guys may hear me. I'm a little stuffy. Like I said, and these fall drainage is going on, and none of us are exempt from it, including me, right? So I have my recipe tea on deck and trying to rest where I can. I'm still ripping and running as usual, but trying to rest where I can so that my body can do what it needs to do. So we're going to continue on, though, because I did not want to stop and not do the podcast tonight. I wanted to make sure that no matter what, I am consistent. So we're going to talk about bioregional herbalism. Now, I know you've heard me talk about this before. I think it's very important that you look at the plants that are in your area. And the reason why I think that is because what I truly believe is that everything that you need is already growing around you. No matter where you live, no matter where you are, even if you're in a desert, there are medicinal plants out there. What you need is growing around you. So if you want to heighten the chances of you getting an herb and picking it at the right time, at the right season, in the right place, you can heighten its value as well as its potency if you go and pick it yourself. So bioregional herbalism, I thought it's an important topic to talk about just a little bit more in depth. I kind of talked about before making sure that you first understand what's growing around you. And that way you can go and pick your own herbs as much as you want whenever you need it. And it's for free. We all like free. But let's get into it a little bit deeper here. So first of all, what is bioregional herbalism? Now, bioregional herbalism is the practice of using herbs and plants that are native or well suited to a specific geographic area. And this is called a bioregion. This approach is rooted in understanding your local ecosystems, the cultural traditions around it, and the unique characteristics of plants found within any given area. Now, by focusing on local flora, herbalists and plant enthusiasts alike can create remedies that are more relevant to the health concerns and the environmental conditions of their community. If you are a community herbalist, this also helps you if you want to do herb walks and these type of things for the people in your communities, and they can know where to get the medicine from and what to do with it. Now, this method emphasizes the importance of ecological balance, sustainability, as well as respect for the land. Why is this important for herbalists to know and understand? Number one, sustainability. So bioregional herbalism promotes sustainable harvesting of local plants, making sure that they're being used in a way that does not actually deplete the ecosystem. And when you're over harvesting, okay, this can definitely impact the local biodiversity as well as the health of the plant. So we always try to say don't over harvest, but take just what you need. All right, number two, cultural relevance. So by understanding bioregional herbalism, you can preserve indigenous knowledge. So many indigenous cultures have a long history of using local plants for medicine, such as the Cherokee Indians, really any of the Indians. So by preserving this indigenous knowledge, you can kind of contribute to understanding the local flora, because a lot of times when trades happen, plants were brought from one region over to another area, or as certain cultures migrated from one area to the next, they tend to bring their traditions and their plants along with them. So if you ever have time, just take some time to study that. It's actually quite interesting how we ended up getting some of our local plants here. But we can at least preserve that indigenous knowledge because it is very important. I know there's probably an effort to get rid of it, but it's very, very important. The other thing is paired with that is local tradition. So there are many different cultural uses of local plants, right? And then there's also not only the uses, but then there's family recipes that incorporate the medicinal plants. So cultural relevance is another reason why bioherbalism is important for herbalists to understand. Another thing is efficacy. So local plants are often better adapted to specific climate, soil types, and environmental challenges of their region. And this can enhance their medicinal properties. And so what this means is that there are certain local herbs that are in your area that have been shown to be effective in treating common illnesses and ailments. So if you tend to have high blood pressure in your area and these type of things, there are plants in your local area to address that. Another thing is that by understanding local plants, it'll allow you to create remedies that are specifically targeted to the health concerns that are really widespread in your community, such as allergies, like I said before, high blood pressure, digestive issues, or even certain skin conditions. Number 4, herbalists should understand because of the connection to nature. When you engage with your local ecosystems by observing how the plants grow and observing their patterns and seasonal changes, as well as looking at how wildlife interact with the plants, this approach really does enhance your understanding and knowledge of herbal medicine, and it really does foster a deep connection as well as respect for nature. Because the reality of it is that the plants kind of operate on their clock and system, and the animals have their clock and system, but everybody just seems to kind of work in harmony with each other and not against each other, so to speak. So it kind of gives you that deeper connection and understanding with nature by engaging with your local ecosystem. And also, there's like a peacefulness that kind of happens when you're foraging and, you're making these connections with the land. It's actually a very beautiful thing. You're giving your respect, and then you're taking what you need, these type of things. And even in the stillness and the quietness of it all, it's just amazing, amazing, amazing thing. How do you find your local plants? You're like, okay, I see the importance. Definitely need to do it. I want to be sustainable. I definitely want to preserve indigenous knowledge. I definitely want to make sure that they work and that I stay connected to nature. So how do I find these local plants? Number 1, identify what your bioregion is. Okay. And how you can determine your bioregion, you look at things such as climate, topography, as well as your biodiversity. So you can look at different bioregional atlases to kind of help you determine your specific bioregion. You can learn about the different types of ecosystems even within your bioregion, such as is it a lot of forests there, wetlands, grasslands, or even deserts, because these can influence the type of plants that thrive there. And just a really quick word on habitats. It's very important to understand that in plant identification, because let's say you're trying to identify a plant and you learn that plant it can only grow and sustain itself, let's say in the wetlands. Well, you live in the desert. So that's probably not the plant you're looking for. So by having this knowledge, it will help you understand better how to also identify the plants. Okay. Another thing is through foraging. This is another way that you can find local plants. So there are many common places where herbalists can find wild plants, such as local parks, nature reserves, hiking trails, and even some backyard gardens. So explore these areas and just kind of take some notes in your herbalist journal, what you do find. Now, different plants are available at various times of the year, and you want to be able to identify the edible versus the non-edible plants during each season. You want to also be able to identify those counterfeits as well, because you don't want to mess around and nibble on the wrong plant, and that'll be your last plant. Okay. So also consider getting a seasonal calendar, okay, for common local plants. That will help as well. If not, make one for yourself. These are the plants in our area, and this is the calendar, kind of when they grow, where they're at, how they grow, these type of things. So another way that place where you can find local plants is through community involvement. So attend local workshops or even classes that kind of help you understand the local flora as well as how to forage it. And then of course you also want to network with other herbalists, because this will encourage groups where you can share knowledge, resources, and experiences. And then you can also consider platforms such as, let's say, Facebook or other herbalist guilds to kind of help you understand what's really growing in the area. You don't have to do this alone. Don't feel like you have to. There are some people in these herbalist groups that have been studying these plants for well over 15, 20 years, and they have a wealth of knowledge. So don't dismiss them no matter what. Just get the information. Hey, what's going on? What's growing in these areas? What's beneficial? Where do they grow? How do they grow? And, go on some nature walks and see what you can find. But don't lose that connection with the community, especially with people who have been doing it for a long time. Now, let me give you some resources on how to identify local plants. Number one, and it's a huge one, is field guides. Now, there are a number of field guides out there. Field guide to medicinal plants and herbs, Peterson's field guide to edible wild plants. There's tons of field guides. These are important. You need to have at least 1 or 2 field guides from your area because it gives detailed identification as well as uses of these local plants. And it helps you to safely identify the edible plants. Okay. So you definitely want to get you at least 2 really good field guides. Another thing is online resources. Okay. Now, some people have asked me, well, what about using plant identification apps? I'm not saying don't use them. I've used Plant Snap before, but you want to be careful. Go the extra mile, even though you snapped a picture of it. Look at the stem, look at the leaves, these other characteristics to kind of help you really identify the plant rather than solely relying on the apps. I know we're in the digital age now, AI, this and that. But with plant identification, you don't want to go wrong. You don't want to misidentify a plant. So you want to be as close to 100% sure as possible. So you can use them as a baseline, but I would definitely go deeper into the plant identification, process to really identify the plant you're looking to have. All right. Another thing is if you have herbariums or botanical gardens in your area, visit some of these. They also have extensive plant collections as well as resources for public education. So check into those. Another resource for identifying local plants, and I kind of touched on this before, but workshops and classes. So enroll in local classes. All right. You can check it out at local community colleges or herbalist organizations for workshops that specifically focus on plant identification as well as usage. Now, the other thing is hands-on learning. It's very important to add this component to your herbal plant identification journey because touching plants, using all of your 5 senses to identify them will help you to be able to better identify the plant as well as to understand and know what to use it for. And you can always partner with an experienced forager or an herbalist to kind of help you through that process. So don't discount those things, workshops and classes. Another place that you can look for local plants is local libraries and universities. So typically they have, library resources, books on botany, herbal medicine specific to your region. So look at local universities to see if they may even have an herbarium collection that are accessible to the public. So I would definitely look into that as well. Use all of your resources at your disposal. But understand when you look at the plants in your area, that is really the best way. I know, especially because of marketing, social media, and all these other things, we want to run out and go get the latest, greatest, hottest, most talked about herb from the hills of somewhere. And the reality of it is that not a lot of people can afford it. Not a lot of people have access to it. We don't know if that's exactly what it is once you get it. We don't know how potent it is. There's a lot of different factors and what I would call cons to ordering the plants and stuff like that from overseas. I'm not 100% against it, but if you can absolutely find the plants around your area and can pick them in the right season, in the right place at the right time, then, like I said before, they are their most potent. And that's what's most important. Because sometimes when you're packaging plant, drying them, packaging them, and transporting them across the seas, it may be on those cargo ships for 30 days, depending on where it's coming from. So, you have to be concerned about that as well. So try to eliminate that by finding plants in your area. The other thing is that, because if you look at what we're going through now in the United States, inflation is crazy. But that doesn't mean that people should not have access to plant medicine to address their needs. So this would be the time, especially for herbalists that have clients, or even if you don't, just to really talk to other people about what's growing around them and how they can use it to address any type of issues that they might deal with. And the fact that they can go get it for free. A lot of people, they like free. But I find that when I tell them that, especially when it comes to herbs, they're almost like, well, I still want you to pick it because I don't know and I don't want to get out there and get something wrong. But it's like, it's free, but you're just going to have to do some work. So if you're not willing to do that, then you're probably not willing to do anything else. And it is what it is, right? In closing, it is very important. It is very, very, very important to embrace your region. Because not only does it enhance what you're doing as an herbalist, but you can also support your local ecosystem as well as your communities. I would definitely encourage you to explore your local environments. Keep a journal of your foraging experiences. You can write down the plant you found, where you found it, what the conditions were like, when you picked it, what part you picked. You can just write down and document all of those things. What was the vibe like out there? But continuously educate yourselves about the rich herbal heritage available in your area. And don't feel like you have to know it all. I tell people all the time, you're not going to know it all, so stop trying. It's not even worth it. Scientists are still figuring out stuff and still discovering stuff every day. Botanists, herbalists, every day. There's still so much more. Like I said, herbal medicine will humble you because you'll never know it all. You just won't. So don't put the pressure and stress on yourself to know it all, but just know a few that's growing in your area. Okay. And zero in on the ones, especially the ones you want to forage, that could address multiple issues rather than just one. That way you can get the maximum benefit of the plant. Because when you're making medicines, sometimes, okay, the mixture is stronger when you use the entire plant. So I'm talking about the roots. I'm talking about the stem. I'm talking about the leaves. I'm talking about the flowers, whatever it is. Sometimes it will be a little stronger because you're using all parts, and different parts can target different parts of the issue. So it's almost like a multifaceted formula. Okay. So consider those things, but I would just encourage you to start a small project, use some local plants, whether it be creating a simple herbal remedy of your own. I do have some herbal remedies on my Facebook page, so check that out. Maybe find some local plants in your area and substitute the herbs that I had on there for the ones that are in your area. But keep a record of the plants that you discover throughout the seasons, and you definitely want to look throughout the seasons. Okay? So I didn't want to keep you long. Because like I said, I do need to go rest. I definitely don't want to be a hypocrite in this, and definitely want to make sure that I get my own rest and follow my own advice, because that's so very important. But I'm hoping that you are learning from this podcast and you are gaining valuable knowledge. If you are, shoot me a message, reach out to me. Let me know what plants you have in your area, what you've been able to find, what excites you about herbal medicine. Like I said, let's build a community. All right. So if you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all of my social media sites at The Demystified Herbalist. And until next time, family, I'm out.